Well, we're here with Dan Smith in San Francisco on September the 3rd, 2010, and we're going to be discussing gay square dancing and stained glass windows, an unusual combination. Dan, what's this big fuss I hear going on about gay square dancing? What is that?
Gay square dancing started in 1983 in Florida. And the second club was here in San Francisco, and the club had a disagreement as to how to conduct itself, whether to follow the international rules which had just been set up, or to have a caller do a set calls. And so it divided into two parts. And now there are three clubs that get along very well: Western Star Dancers, Foggy City Dancers, and Midnight Squares, and they're all gay and lesbian clubs.
So these are gay and lesbian clubs, but they're open and welcome to people who are gay friendly, is that correct?
Yes, in fact, the director of the club that I am mainly Western Star Dancers is a straight woman.
And what is it that characterizes the feeling of these clubs to the feeling or the circumstances that you find in other clubs?
Well, I think that the gay and lesbian clubs tend to be less sexually oriented, in that in straight clubs you have your partner, you come with your partner, the man and the woman, they dance together basically every dance, and they're very protective of they're very nice people, but there's a lot of sexual dynamics going on which don't exist in the gay clubs. In the gay clubs you come by yourself, or you can come with friends, and you dance with a different person every tip. That's what people are encouraged. And most dancers are bidantial, which means they can dance both the boy and the girl part.
So from what I've heard is that these roles of boy and girl and such in gay square dancing sometimes refer to geography, sometimes refer to position or roles. They're not something that's biologically determined. Is that correct?
Yeah, the biology of it is completely irrelevant. At the upper levels, the terms are belles and beaux. And the belle is always on the right, whether or not it's a man or a woman, or dancing a man or a woman. And the beau is always on the left.
So it's positionally defined.
That's right. And at the lower level, it does move around, but nevertheless, the girl does certain things that the boy doesn't do, and the boy does certain things that the girl doesn't do.
Now, square dancing is an international phenomenon. Is that correct? And you have
Absolutely.
sort of an international language and international positions and dances. Could you tell us about that?
Well, the language actually is in English. All the calls, every place in the world, are in English. For instance, I had a friend, Tomas Todd, who was walking in when he was an interrogator in Saigon. I was walking down the street and he heard square dance music up above, and he went up and there were all these Vietnamese, most of whom didn't speak any English. Everything was in Vietnamese except for whenever a call was made, like Alaman Left, or Do Sai Do, or Swing, it would be in English. And that's true every place. If you go to Japan, you don't have to know Japanese, and you don't have to know what they're saying. You just listen for the command, and then you do it.
So if you learn the commands and you know the steps, you can be from any place in the world and participate in these dances. Is that correct?
Yes, in fact, every 2 years, the callers, who are the people who do the calling, they get together and they set standards for the next 2 years as to what call will be at what level of dancing and what it curtails.
You're also an artist who makes stained glass windows, and you were able to combine your interest in stained glass windows with square dancing. How did you do that?
Well, I was out to lunch with my friend Arthur Evans, that's you, who had written this wonderful book called Critique of Patriarchal Reasoning. Fabulous book, and had gotten a grant from the Art Commission. And he said, well, why don't you try? And I said, well, what can I do? He said, well, what are your interests? I said, oh, square dancing and stained glass. He said, that's your answer. So I submitted a proposal to help 16 square dancers make stained glass windows on the subject of gay and lesbian square dancing. And they gave me $10,000, and it was great.
And these people had no experience making stained glass windows, is that right?
Not a single one of them had ever worked with stained glass before. One of them had worked with charcoal, and he brought that knowledge in composition, which was an incredible window called Weave the Ring, and it's just all these weaving patterns. which was really nice. Another person was an expert in crocheting, and his window looks like something that was crocheted.
I saw some of these windows, and one of them depicted a duck. Could you explain how that got in there?
Well, many years ago, there was a national convention, and the caller said AC-doocy, which is a line of four people, the centers straight and the ends circulate. And the woman, for some reason, heard AC-ducky instead of AC-doocy, and so she said quack, quack. And now, all across the world, whenever the caller says AC-doocy, everybody says quack, quack. So he made a window of a duck in a pond. And it's full of symbolism. Below is a yellow rock. And in square dancing, when the caller says yellow rock, you go and hug the person that's immediately to your right if you're a girl and immediately to your left if you're a boy. And you just hug them. And that's called yellow rocking.
We're going to try an experiment now with lighting and conduct the rest of this interview in a different lighting.
Okay.
Dan, as I understand it, you have an idea for another project that combines art and square dancing. What is that all about?
Well, in 2013, the International Community of Gay and Lesbian Square Dancers is having a national convention, which they do every year, and it's going to be in San Francisco that year. And I'm trying to get another grant to basically follow around people who come to San Francisco to dance and see what they do when they're here. So I won't have anything to do about the dances themselves, because there are other people that are recording that. It'll be recording how the people who are not tourists but are coming to dance, who they meet, where they go in the town, and how dancing was for them. And I think that'll make a very interesting project.
This sounds like a wonderful expression of San Francisco values.
It is. San Francisco is such a beautiful city. In fact, last Saturday, my club, which is Western Star, we had a dance called Circulate the Golden Gate. And what we did was we danced at 5 different places that were outside that had one thing in common. They all had views of the Golden Gate Bridge. And it was a whole day affair. We started at 9 in the morning and finished. We had lunch down at a place called China Beach, 100 steps down to the beach, where the Chinese used to fish in the early days, and that's why it's called China Beach.
Well, Dan Smith, thank you very much for this information about square dancing and stained glass windows, and we look forward to hearing more from you about this.
Thank you, Arthur.
Live from San Francisco.